Jessica screamed, "Last night of freedom," like she was declaring independence from a hostage situation, not celebrating a wedding. I watched her spin on a sticky bar floor wearing a white mini dress and a sash that said, "Bride to be," like a clearance tag at Target. She was live on Instagram, 11:38 p.m. Pacific time, meaning 2:38 a.m. here in New York, where I sat in a leather recliner in the Delta Business Lounge, holding 2 wedding rings and a signed cancellation form. Then came the line, the one that flipped the switch. "I can't wait to see my ex." The crowd cheered like she'd announced a second encore. One of her friends yelled, "Girl, you're bad," and she winked at the camera like she was proud of it. Champagne spilled down her arm. A pink feather boa dangled from the corner of the frame like roadkill caught in a fence. I didn't blink, didn't curse, didn't call. I sipped my coffee, black, quiet. You know what's funny? There was a time I'd have blamed myself. Too uptight, too serious, too old. She used to joke, "You're the adult in the room, babe," like it was both a compliment and a complaint. I wore that label like a badge, but sitting there in a suit tailored for the rehearsal dinner that would never happen, I finally got it. She wasn't marrying me. She was staging something, a performance, and I was supposed to clap. Instead, I watched. The live had maybe 60 people on it, then 100. By the time she twerked against a bartender and shouted, "Marcus won't mind, he's in love with my soul," it had hit 230. That's when I clicked record. She didn't even notice or care, or maybe she thought I was asleep or on the plane. The truth, I was supposed to be boarding in 45 minutes. First class, Terminal 4 to San Diego, wedding in 3 days, big money venue in La Jolla. Her family paid for most of it. But I was bringing the real gift. Me, that's not arrogance, that's clarity. I've spent 11 years in enterprise consulting, mostly turnarounds and acquisitions. I'm good at spotting failing systems before they collapse. But I missed this one because I wasn't treating it like a business. I was treating it like love. Big mistake. And now I was watching the final shareholder meeting of our relationship unfold live on social media, streamed by the CEO herself, already auditioning for a merger with someone else. If you're still reading, do me a favor. Tap that follow button. More than 90% of you read these stories without subscribing, and it honestly helps more than you know. Keeps the team going. Keeps me going. Back to her. At minute 11, she started fake crying. "I'm gonna miss being bad after Sunday. I'm a wife." Her friend leaned in. "Well, maybe not right after." Cue laughter. Then she said it again, clearer this time, slower. "I'm seeing my ex tonight, just to say goodbye." She held up air quotes like that turned it into a prayer. I closed the app, looked at the rings. Platinum, custom engraving. "Still us," it read, in her handwriting. Cute, romantic bullshit. Next to them was the signed venue release form. I'd sent it that morning before even seeing the video. A gut feeling. I hadn't even told her, or her parents, or the planner. Not yet. That would come soon enough. I looked up. Boarding call started. Gate B22. I didn't move. Not yet. Instead, I opened my banking app, verified the transfer I made that afternoon. 10,000 non-refundable to a holding account under my name. Not for a honeymoon. Not anymore. For the next phase, I slid the folder back into my bag, zipped it closed. They say betrayal feels like a punch in the gut. Not this one. This one felt like ice water. Freezing clarity. The kind that makes your breath slow, makes your hands steady. People around me were gathering their things. The intercom chirped. I stood up, adjusted my cufflinks, and smiled. She had no idea what she'd just started. I should have walked the night she laughed off the text. We were at her apartment, ours technically, but it never felt like mine. I'd made steak. She came home late, smelling like vanilla and bar rail tequila, threw her coat over the back of the couch and said, "Don't freak out, but I ran into Aaron today." Aaron, her ex, the one who didn't mean anything anymore, but somehow stayed saved in her phone under a nickname, Old Times. When I asked why the emoji, she rolled her eyes and said, "Because we always drank martinis, Marcus. Don't make it weird." Sure. That night, I saw her phone light up while we were brushing teeth. He sent a meme, some dumb screenshot of a couple fighting over nothing. Her response? "Haha, us. Us." I didn't say anything. Didn't want to be the jealous older fiance. That's the role she always hinted at. Don't be insecure, babe. You know I'm with you. And I did know. I knew she was physically with me. But mentally, emotionally, she still lived in another apartment in another year with a guy who once got her name tattooed and later covered it up with a mountain range. He was a bartender, a drummer, something temporary, but apparently unforgettable. And I was stability. I was the man her family adored, the one her father pulled aside at Christmas and said, "You're good for her. Don't let her screw this up." Funny how those words aged like milk. There were other signs, stupid ones, but they kept stacking. The phone calls that dropped into whispers the moment I entered the room, the texts she tilted away from me, the locked iPad she used for wedding stuff that somehow never opened unless she was alone, the sudden idea that I shouldn't have a bachelor party. "Your friends are immature," she said. "You know they'll just take you to some trashy strip club and get you drunk." When I suggested we do a co-ed party, she said no. She wanted just girls. Vegas, 2 nights, nothing crazy, except the video from the lounge proved otherwise. I remember sitting across from her a few months ago, 3/4 of the way through our couples counseling session, a requirement from her church, even though she hadn't attended in years. We'd finished talking about communication. Jessica smiled sweetly, thanked the therapist, and as we walked to the car, she asked me, deadpan, "Do you feel better? Like, was that helpful for you?" Not us, for me. I almost ended it that night. I even drafted a message. "I think we've grown apart. I think this isn't right." But I didn't send it. I thought about her dad, her mom, the way they looked at me like I was already their son. I thought about the job offer, the one waiting for me after the honeymoon, her father's business, VP of Strategic Development. It was real, tangible. I told myself love came later, that maybe it always did in adult relationships. Now, I realize I was playing chess against someone who thought she was on a reality show. The morning after the live stream, I showered, packed, put on the suit I'd had pressed for the rehearsal dinner. I even wore the watch she gave me last Christmas, a Rolex engraved, "To my future." She didn't know it, but I'd already redirected the shipping address for our registry gifts. Everything was going to a storage facility, the code to access it, the date of the wedding, except now it would be a vault for reminders. Collateral, pieces of a life paused mid-construction. When I reached the gate, I didn't sit, just walked straight up and handed over my boarding pass. "San Diego?" the attendant asked. "Yes," I said, "but it's not for the wedding." She smiled politely, probably assuming I was joking. I wasn't. I had no intention of stepping foot into that venue. But I had meetings to attend. Quiet ones. Strategic ones. Her father wasn't just a parent, he was an investor. In me. And investors? They don't like volatility. They especially don't like liabilities with Wi-Fi and feather boas. The flight was smooth. Quiet. I watched a documentary about restoring vintage Ferraris, drank club soda, took notes. By the time we landed, my inbox had 3 missed emails from the planner, 2 texts from Jessica's sister, and 1 from Jessica herself. "Boarding soon, can't wait to see you," I replied with a photo. The folder, the rings, and the caption, "Already saw what I needed to." Jessica woke up somewhere between regret and dehydration. Her eyes cracked open to a punishing stripe of sunlight that split the hotel room like a blade. She groaned, rolled over, and was immediately greeted by the chaos of her phone. 87 notifications, 3 missed calls, 5 group chats on fire. Her head pounded like a nightclub floor. Somewhere on the dresser, a tiara lay crooked next to a half-full glass of flat champagne. Her sash had been ripped, half still on her shoulder, the rest hanging off the lampshade like a sad ghost of decisions past. She squinted at her screen. "Girl, you were wild last night. Tell Marcus to forgive you. That live was a little much." "Did you really say you were seeing Aaron?" LOL, iconic behavior. Wife era incoming. She smirked, still foggy. Tapped out a quick reply. "OMG, I was blacked out. Did I really say all that?" No one answered directly. Instead, a bridesmaid named Tori sent a screenshot. Jessica stared at it, her face front and center, mouth open mid-laugh, holding a shot glass aloft like Lady Liberty. Captioned, "Can't wait to see my ex," with 3 fire emojis and her handle tagged. She blinked. Then came another text from one of her newer friends, Jenna. "Marcus didn't like the live, did he?" Jessica snorted and dropped the phone onto the bed. "Oh, please," she muttered aloud to no one. "He's a big boy." She dragged herself to the bathroom, swallowed 2 aspirin, pulled her hair into a bun, and gave her reflection a once-over. Puffy eyes, lipstick smudged into the corner of her mouth like a guilty afterthought. She expected a pissed-off text from Marcus. Maybe a call me or at least a passive-aggressive emoji, but when she finally checked her texts, nothing. No missed calls, no voice notes, no heart emojis, just silence. Weird. She tapped his name. Send a message. Landed. Missed you last night. Want to FaceTime? Read, no reply. 5 minutes passed. 10, 20. She opened Instagram, went to his story. Nothing updated since yesterday. A picture of his boarding pass. Delta 1. JFK to San. She tapped it again. It didn't expire for another 4 hours. He had seen her story. Definitely. No way he didn't. Still, no comment, no DM, no phone call, no dramatic monologue about betrayal. Just a void. Jessica shrugged it off. Marcus was moody, a sulker. He'd probably show up to brunch looking like a tax accountant who lost a client and act passive until someone handed him a mimosa. She walked out of the bathroom, still in her robe, when her phone buzzed again. Maid of honor this time. Is it true? He canceled the venue? Jessica stopped in her tracks. Her thumbs moved faster than her brain. What are you talking about? No response. She called, straight to voicemail. Her stomach tightened. A slow, creeping nausea that had nothing to do with alcohol. She opened her email app, typed venue into the search bar, scrolled, stopped, subject line, confirmation, cancellation, La Jolla Cove Estate wedding booking. Her heart dropped into her knees. Timestamp? 8:17 a.m., which meant he'd sent it after watching the video. The message was signed electronically, Marcus Halverson. Attached, the signed cancellation form. PDF, no hesitation, no backup plan. Jessica blinked, then laughed nervously. This had to be a mistake. Some automated thing. A pre-wedding error. A scheduling fluke. She called the venue. A perky woman named Leanne answered. La Jolla Cove Estate, how can I help you? Yes, hi, this is Jessica Avery, bride for the Halverson Avery wedding. I just got an email that... Oh yes. Hi, Jessica. Yes, we received Marcus's cancellation this morning. Everything's been processed, so sorry again for the change. If you need anything else... Wait, he actually canceled? Pause. Yes. He submitted the official void request and release of contract. We're sorry it didn't work out. Jessica hung up. She sat down slowly on the edge of the bed, her robe falling off one shoulder. This wasn't a prank. Marcus hadn't yelled. He hadn't sent a dramatic text or made a scene. He hadn't argued or cried or even confronted her. He had canceled the venue, just like that. And now the whispers were starting. Bridesmaids texting each other behind her back, vendors asking quiet questions, her maid of honor already panicking, one wrong word from any of them, and it was going to spill into something bigger. Jessica pulled her knees up to her chest. The hangover was nothing compared to this silence. The first call came from her mother. Jessica was halfway through forcing down dry toast when her phone buzzed. She didn't even get a greeting. Why is the florist saying you canceled? Jessica blinked. What? I just got a call from Dahlia and Vine. They said you pulled the plug this morning. No delivery, no setup, no payment due. They sounded confused. So am I. I didn't cancel anything, Jessica snapped, immediately switching to speakerphone so she could scroll through her emails. Why would I cancel the florist? I don't know, Jessica. Maybe because you're having some kind of meltdown and didn't tell me. Mom, I swear, if you're self-sabotaging again... I'm not, Jessica barked. It's probably some system error, or Marcus being dramatic. I'll fix it. Her mom sighed sharply. You'd better, because if I get one more call like that, I'm going to start thinking this whole thing's unraveling. Click. Jessica stared at the phone, heart pounding. Seconds later, another ping. Subject. Ceremony update. Officiant confirmation. Her stomach turned. Hi, Jessica. Just wanted to confirm I received notice from Marcus early this morning that the ceremony has been officially called off. I've refunded my retainer and removed the date from my calendar. Wishing you both peace during this transition. Sincerely, Reverend Tessa Ford. Peace? What the hell was that supposed to mean? She tried calling Marcus immediately, straight to voicemail. She didn't leave a message, just tried again, still voicemail. Third time, nothing. Finally, she scrolled back to their last conversation. Nothing since yesterday. Then a single unread message, time-stamped 7:44 a.m. You'll find everything in the envelope. She froze, her heart thudded in her ears. Envelope? She ran to the front door, yanked it open. Nothing on the mat. Then she looked left. Small FedEx box propped up on the corner of the porch. Jessica grabbed it like it was radioactive, slammed the door shut, tore it open. Inside, a plain manila envelope. Her name on the front, written in Marcus's handwriting. She opened it with trembling fingers. 2 small velvet boxes, hers and his. Inside, the engagement ring and the wedding band, still gleaming, still polished. And below them, 3 printed documents, neatly stacked. Wedding venue cancellation confirmation, catering service termination, rehearsal dinner, reservation release, each one signed, each one dated, all by Marcus. No note, no explanation, just voids. Jessica sat on the floor, legs folded beneath her. She stared at the rings, then at the forms, then back at the rings. Her fingers twitched like she was about to pick one up, but she didn't. The room was too quiet, her thoughts too loud. She opened the group chat with her bridesmaids, started to type. Hey girls, just a little hiccup. Backspaced. Typed again. So, Marcus is being ridiculous right now. Deleted. What could she even say? She hadn't spoken to him since before the live stream. She assumed he'd sulk, then forgive, that he'd maybe give her a lecture or cancel dinner. Not the whole goddamn wedding. She texted him. Call me. We need to talk. Right now. No response. Tried again. I don't understand what's happening. Is this some kind of punishment? Still nothing. Then another email. This one from the caterer. Hi Jessica. Per your partner's request this morning, we've refunded the deposit and canceled all delivery for Friday evening. We're very sorry to hear about the cancellation. We wish you the best. It was like death by paper cuts. One service after another. All unraveling. All sent by him. And still, no confrontation, no yelling, no confrontation, no closure, only precision, only silence. She picked up the engagement ring, held it to the light. It still sparkled, a beautiful lie. She wanted to scream, but instead she just sat there, with 2 rings in her lap and her wedding unraveling around her like someone had pulled a thread behind her back and just kept walking. Marcus didn't ghost her. He dismantled her, quietly, efficiently, like a man who'd already grieved and was now just cleaning up. They met in the living room of her parents' house, the nice living room, the one with the grand piano no one played, and the beige couch you weren't allowed to sit on unless someone died or got married. Today it was something in between. Her father stood at the window, silent, staring out at the manicured hedges like they might offer a diplomatic solution. Her brother, Ryan, paced in slow, deliberate loops near the fireplace. Jessica sat stiffly on the edge of the couch, legs crossed, trying to look like someone who still had control over something. So, Ryan said finally, is it true? She didn't answer. Jess, he pushed, did Marcus really cancel the wedding? Like it's done? She shrugged. It's not that simple. Actually, her father cut in without turning around. It is. Silence. He turned slowly, arms folded. The look on his face wasn't paternal concern. It was calculation. The same look he gave to underperforming regional managers right before replacing them. Did you embarrass him? He asked plainly. Jessica recoiled. Excuse me? Her father's voice dropped. Did you humiliate the man in front of hundreds of people on the internet? It was a bachelorette party, she snapped. People go a little wild. It's tradition. It wasn't wild. He pulled his phone from his pocket and tapped a few times, held it out. A freeze frame of her live stream, her face mid-laugh, her hand making air quotes. I'm seeing my ex tonight, just to say goodbye. Jessica looked away. I'm sorry, she said stiffly. I was drunk. Everyone was drunk. It was stupid. Her father didn't lower the phone. But not private, not unrecorded. You didn't just sabotage your wedding, Jessica. You did it with a megaphone. Ryan muttered under his breath. God, this is going to be everywhere. Jessica's voice rose, defensive and sharp. Oh, give me a break. Like you've never done anything reckless at a party? Sure, Ryan said, but I didn't do it while holding a $35,000 engagement ring and tagging the man who bought it. Her father finally sat, slow and controlled. He folded his hands. Marcus was going to join the company in 2 weeks. Chief Strategy Officer, that was already approved by the board. I know, Jessica said. Do you? I didn't ask him to cancel the wedding. You didn't have to, he replied coolly. You broadcasted to the world that he was optional. Jessica stood. This is ridiculous. You're acting like I cheated on him in the middle of the reception. It was a joke. A bad joke. No one's laughing, her father said flatly. Jessica flinched. He continued. You think this is about feelings. It's not. It's about perception. Marcus had credibility. Respect. You threw that in the dirt. And now I'm supposed to convince my partners that bringing him into the business is still viable, that he's not a walking PR disaster with a side of soap opera drama? Why are you more worried about the business than me? She snapped. Her father didn't blink. Because you're my daughter. He was supposed to be my partner. Jessica sat down again, quieter this time. I didn't mean for it to get out of hand. Intent doesn't matter, he said. Optics do. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table. She ignored it. So did everyone else. Her father leaned forward. You have 48 hours to fix this. Not for the wedding. That's dead. But for your reputation. For this family's name. Because right now, Jessica, you look like a liability. The word hit like a slap. Her father picked up his phone again, typed something quickly, then stood. Where are you going? She asked. To send Marcus a message. Jessica stared at him. He said it simply, as if stating weather conditions. Let's talk. One-on-one. He walked out of the room. Jessica's pulse pounded. Ryan didn't say a word, just shook his head and followed their father. Left alone, she leaned back against the untouched cushions, trying to breathe, but all she could feel was the quiet shape of her own collapse. Jessica stood in the middle of her apartment, surrounded by pastel-colored gift bags and unopened wedding boxes, feeling like a movie set had been abandoned mid-shoot. The monogrammed champagne flutes, the embossed welcome signs, the $600 pair of white Louboutins she swore she'd wear only once. All of it now sat in silent mockery. She was wearing a hoodie over yesterday's clothes and chewing the inside of her cheek when she said it out loud. To no one. Okay, we spin it. She grabbed her phone and opened her notes app. Official statement. Marcus and I have decided to postpone the wedding. While we love and respect each other deeply, we feel it's best to take time. Delete. Too soft. After much consideration, we've mutually chosen to cancel the ceremony. This decision of delete. No one was going to believe that. She needed help. Optics mattered now. So she called Sophie, her PR friend who once survived an influencer breakup scandal and came out with a book deal. Soph, she said as soon as she picked up, I need to put out a statement. Sophie didn't answer immediately. Then came the words. Have you seen what the videographer posted? Jessica blinked. What? Just go look. Jessica pulled up Instagram, searched @Frame and Flourish, their overpriced wedding videographer. There it was, a Reels post. Marcus in a tux adjusting his cufflinks during their engagement shoot, B-roll footage, Jessica smiling next to him, a slow pan of the empty venue. Then a black screen with the text, sad to hear the wedding's off. Best of luck, Marcus. Some clients just stand out. #Grace and silence. She stared, slack-jawed. The comments were already brutal. He dodged a bullet. Is this the guy whose fiancée went live drunk about her ex? King behavior. Hope he's okay. Why would they post that? She hissed. Sophie sighed. They probably think they're siding with the one who paid in full and didn't turn their wedding into a live stream circus. Jessica ended the call. Panic bubbled just under her skin, but she forced calm. She messaged the florist, the planner, the caterer, typed out some variation of, please refrain from commenting publicly. We're working through this as a couple. Then, like an idiot, she checked her own tagged photos. There it was, a screen recording of the infamous moment. 36 seconds. Her voice clear as day. Can't wait to see my ex tonight, just to say goodbye. The caption? Here's why he left. It had 74K views. She clicked the comments. Good for Marcus. This is why men are scared of commitment. This wedding was never about love. She wanted a hashtag. Someone had even paired it with a trending audio, some dramatic violin swell, and cut to a shot of Marcus stepping out of a car from an old business conference clip. Stop. glorifying this, she whispered under her breath. Too late. Then came the tag. Her friend Tori, the one who helped plan the bridal shower, posted a picture of herself and Marcus from 6 months ago. A harmless snap, him laughing, holding a mimosa, captioned, "When the groom cancels and still wins." Jessica messaged her, "Seriously? Not helpful." No reply. She threw her phone onto the couch. Her laptop dinged. Email from the venue. "Hi Jessica, as discussed, please note the following services are non-refundable per the contract. Staff scheduling, security, sound system install, total retained, 19,840. We hope to work with you again in the future." She felt something split down her spine. Almost 20 grand. Gone. She called the planner, straight to voicemail. Texted her maid of honor. "I need to get in front of this. Help me post something." Read, no reply. The panic she'd been suppressing since the envelope arrived was now a full-body hum, an electric dread crawling under her skin. She opened Instagram again, typed a caption. "It's with a heavy heart that we share." But the app froze. Her story views were climbing. 100, then 1,000. The internet wasn't waiting for her to shape the story. They already had it. She wasn't the bride anymore. She was the meme. Jessica finally cracked around 11:42 a.m. After a morning of unanswered calls, public posts, and watching her maid of honor repost the viral clip with the caption, "Welp," she dialed her father's lawyer. Gerald Klein had been with the family for over a decade. He was the type of man who said "mm-hmm" instead of "hello" and never spoke unless absolutely necessary. He handled buyouts, prenups, reputation repair, and in one memorable Christmas, the quiet liquidation of her cousin's crypto disaster. If there was anyone who could untangle this mess, it was Gerald. He answered after 2 rings. "Klein, it's Jessica. I need to ask, can Marcus sue me?" Silence. She heard paper shuffle. A muted exhale. "Miss Avery, he's not suing you." She blinked. "You're sure?" "He didn't file anything. No suit, no damages claim, no cease and desist. He sent one formal document, a withdrawal letter." Jessica exhaled, relieved. "Okay, good. So then it's over. He just canceled the wedding. That's it, right?" A pause. "Not quite," Gerald said, voice even. "What does that mean?" He adjusted something on his end, a keyboard click, the sound of a folder closing. "Your father offered Marcus the executive position under a provisional agreement. The onboarding was contingent on the marriage occurring within the defined timeframe, per the original memo of understanding." "Right," Jessica said, annoyed. "So since the wedding's canceled, the job's void." "Obviously." "Correct. But Marcus filed an addendum." She frowned. "A what?" "An appendix, quietly submitted 3 weeks ago. He amended the executive onboarding agreement, Clause 4C, executive appointment contingent upon marriage to Jessica Avery prior to or on the date of October 12th. In the event of cancellation by either party, Clause 4C voids the employment contract." Jessica blinked. "Wait, he added that himself?" "Yes." "Why would he do that?" Another pause. "To protect himself." She felt her mouth go dry. "So he's not joining the company?" "No." "He gets nothing?" A longer pause this time. She could hear Gerald choosing his words carefully. "No, he already received the initial executive signing bonus. It was issued to his consulting firm per the preliminary contract terms, under Schedule B, $50,000. She shot to her feet. "That was contingent on the wedding, wasn't it?" "Not quite. That was paid in advance as part of the onboarding retention structure. The clause Marcus added voids future salary and stock options, but it does not reverse the bonus. Legally speaking, he keeps it." Jessica was silent. "The firm name is Halverson and Moore," Gerald continued. "He deposited the payment 3 weeks ago through his LLC." She didn't breathe. 3 weeks ago. That was before she went live, before her bachelorette, before everything collapsed. He'd seen the trajectory. He didn't just walk away. He planned the exit. So he, what, just took the bonus and ghosted the entire company? "No, Jessica," Gerald said, his voice even, almost respectful. "He opted out of a contract he no longer believed had integrity. Quietly, cleanly, he left the table without flipping it." She sat down, legs shaking. It didn't make sense. Marcus was always the measured one, the responsible one. She used to tease him for being too formal, too polite. "You'd schedule a breakup over Zoom if I let you," she once joked. Now she realized he probably would, and apparently he had. "You're telling me," she said slowly, "that he amended a legal agreement just to make sure he could walk away with money and no backlash." "I'm telling you," Gerald said, "that he took control of the narrative before you gave him a reason to." A tight silence. "Anything else?" Gerald asked. Jessica didn't respond. She ended the call, then sat in the quiet for a long time, the hum of her phone vibrating beside her, another wave of texts and notifications piling up. She didn't open them, because for the first time since the live stream, she finally understood. Marcus didn't just cancel the wedding. He cut her out of the story and kept the opening scene. The studio was smaller than Marcus remembered, just two foam-lined walls, a cluttered desk with coffee-stained coasters, and a mic that smelled vaguely of breath mints and ambition. He'd been here 3 years ago, back when he was sponsoring a segment on small business resilience during the pandemic. It felt like another life. A warmer one, honestly. Now he was the interview. "Marcus Halverson joins us today," the host began, voice syrup smooth, known to many as a former executive consultant, soon to be COO of the Avery Dental Group, or maybe not. A soft laugh, not cruel, not mocking, just aware. Marcus smiled politely, his eyes steady. He was dressed in charcoal gray, clean-shaven, hands folded, no ring, no bitterness. "You could say that," he replied calmly. "Plans change." The host chuckled again. "And sometimes, so do people." They danced around it for a bit, talked vaguely about career shifts, about how clarity can come from chaos. Marcus thanked the city for its support, the small business owners he'd worked with, and the families who'd reached out with kind words after everything. Then came the question. "So," the host said, his tone dipping into something slower, almost tender, "without diving into anything messy, is there anything you'd want to say to her?" The room held its breath, even though it was pre-recorded. Marcus tilted his head slightly, smiled. "No," he said gently. "I think everything's already been said." The host nodded, lips pressed together. Then, as if he couldn't resist, "And that clip, the live stream, the part where she said she was going to see her ex?" A pause. Marcus didn't look rattled. He just glanced down for a second, then back up. "That wasn't the part that hurt," he said quietly. "I've had worse things said to me." The host leaned in, interested. "The part that hurt," Marcus continued, "was realizing I was the only one who took it seriously, the engagement, the commitment, all of it. I thought we were building something real, but I was the only one working on the foundation." Silence. Not dramatic, not tense, just still. "And when you realize that," Marcus added, "you don't get angry, you get out." The host exhaled. "Damn." Marcus smiled again, just slightly. "Yeah." The rest of the interview went on. They talked about a mentoring initiative he was launching, focused on helping young men navigate professional ambition and personal boundaries, how to build without losing yourself, how to lead without begging for respect. He didn't mention Jessica once, didn't have to. She was the context, not the content. As the show wrapped, the host leaned over during the off-air segment. "You handled this with a lot of class, man." Marcus nodded. "There's no trophy for bitterness." "And yet," the host smirked, "you still came out ahead." Marcus picked up his coat, paused at the door. "No one wins in stuff like this," he said. "You just choose who you want to be when it's over." He left without waiting for a response. Outside, a chill wind rolled through the sidewalk. His phone buzzed once, a text from a client. Heard the interview. "Graceful as hell. Let me know if you're taking on new work." He didn't reply immediately. He just stood there, watching the traffic pass, breathing in the city that hadn't chosen sides, but had noticed the difference. She went viral. He went respected. The receptionist buzzed once, confused. There's a Jessica Avery here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's personal." Marcus didn't flinch. He simply said, "Send her up." He stood, adjusted the cuff of his shirt, and made a mental note to reschedule the strategy call he had in 15 minutes. He wasn't surprised. Not anymore. Everything she did now came exactly 3 beats after the damage. When the elevator opened, Jessica stepped out like someone walking into a courtroom they hadn't prepared for. Dressed down, on purpose, obviously, in jeans and a loose sweater. No makeup, hair tied up, slightly frizzed, as if to say, "Look, I'm raw. I'm real. I'm sorry." He remembered that look from college, the one girls practice before confronting a professor over a failed paper. Calculated vulnerability. She stepped into his office without waiting for permission. "You really canceled everything?" she blurted, "without talking to me?" He gestured to the leather chair across from his desk. "Would you like tea?" She didn't sit. "Marcus, you spoke to 400 people on Instagram," he said calmly. "I didn't think you needed me." She flinched. "That wasn't fair." He raised an eyebrow, leaning back. "Neither was the encore. You know, the part where you said you couldn't wait to see your ex?" Her voice cracked. "I was drunk." "I'm aware," he said. "So were they. That didn't stop you from hitting go live." She crossed her arms, the tears coming quicker than she probably wanted. "I made a mistake. A bad one. But you just cut everything? The venue, the contracts, the job, without a conversation?" "I'd had all the conversation I needed," he said. "I just hadn't realized it yet." She shook her head. "You think one night defines everything? Everything we had?" "No," Marcus said, "but it showed me who was paying attention and who was pretending." She finally sat, slowly, carefully, like lowering herself into the ruins of something sacred. Her hands trembled as she pulled a tissue from her purse. "Do you still love me?" she asked. He looked at her, really looked at her. The girl he met in line at a charity gala 4 years ago, who told him he was too serious but smiled like she might be serious too. The one who cried during dog commercials and memorized his Chipotle order and once danced with him barefoot in their living room after a power outage. The girl who then turned their engagement into a brand and their breakup into a punchline. "I don't think love is the question," he said softly. She stared at him, eyes wet. "The question," Marcus continued, "is trust." The silence stretched like glass between them. She blinked fast. "I know I hurt you, but we could fix it. We could go to counseling, talk it through. People get through worse." Marcus tilted his head. "You're not wrong. People survive worse. They also survive plane crashes. Doesn't mean they get back on the same flight." She said nothing. He stood, walked around the desk, gently placed a hand on the door. "This isn't punishment, Jess," he said. "It's peace." Her face crumpled. He opened the door. "Take care of yourself." She hesitated, waiting for a sign, a flicker, a softness. But there was only the doorway. She stood, walked past him. No goodbye, no dramatic final line. Just her footsteps down the hall, quieter than she'd ever been in her life. When the elevator doors closed, Marcus exhaled and returned to his desk. The tea he'd offered was still steeping. He sipped it slowly, letting the silence wrap around him. Not bitter, not angry, just done. The envelope came in gold foil, hand-addressed, formal but not extravagant. Jessica nearly tossed it, assuming it was another wedding promo or influencer PR gimmick. But then she saw the sender's name embossed on the back in minimalist serif font, the Halverson Foundation. She stood at her kitchen counter in sweatpants, blinking like the letters might rearrange themselves into something less personal. She opened it with a butter knife. Inside, a tri-folded invitation on thick cardstock. Elegant. Clean. An evening of honor and vision. Launch gala for the Halverson Foundation. Empowering young men in leadership. Date. Time. Location. San Diego, naturally. Dress code. Black tie. RSVP QR code already scanned over 500 times. She flipped it over. Nothing else. No note, no mention of her name. Because of course she wasn't invited. She'd been removed from his narrative with surgical precision. Not blocked, not smeared, just omitted. Still, she found the live stream. Of course there was a live stream. Marcus wasn't so detached from the public eye that he'd avoid cameras altogether. He just knew when to use them. It was hosted on the foundation's website. No social media promo, no hashtags, no Instagram countdowns or TikTok teasers, just a single link. Quiet. Intentional. She clicked it. The camera panned across a ballroom, low lighting, dark wood accents, champagne flutes clinking beneath crystal chandeliers. Not flashy, not performative, just quietly powerful. Marcus took the stage 20 minutes in. He wore a deep navy tux, no tie, just an open collar, calm, assured, at ease. The crowd applauded as he reached the podium, not for who he had been, for who he'd become. "I want to thank everyone here tonight," he began, his voice steady, "for believing in the simple but powerful idea that young men should be taught to lead, not with ego, but with presence, with responsibility, with clarity." Jessica leaned against the counter, watching. He didn't mention the breakup. Not directly. He didn't need to. "I was almost someone's husband," Marcus continued, "and in preparing for that role, I spent years trying to shape myself into what someone else needed. I forgot to ask whether that man still looked like me." A ripple of thoughtful silence passed through the audience. He smiled, genuine, small. "Instead, I became something better. I became my own man." Applause erupted, not raucous, respectful, sustained. Jessica's eyes burned. The camera cut to the tables. CEOs, community leaders, former mentees from his pilot programs. Then, beside him on stage, a woman stepped into frame. Not flashy, not in white, no sash, no bride-to-be tiara. She wore a simple black dress, hair tucked back, one hand on Marcus's arm, poised, private. She whispered something. He laughed. The real kind. The kind Jessica hadn't heard since year one. No tag, no handle, no live stream from her phone, just presence. Jessica closed the laptop halfway, stared at the curve of her reflection in the screen. She thought about the dress still hanging in the back of her closet. The shoes. The ring box she'd never quite thrown away. She hadn't touched them in weeks. Until now. And she knew, without drama, without fireworks, that this was the final moment, not because he had moved on, but because he had moved forward, and there was no invitation for where he went next.